Raw spoilers, neck injury scare. WWE chaos, injury shock. Raw panic over injury rumor. WWE spoilers, injury alert. Raw shocker, neck scare. What actually went down on WWE Raw that made everything feel like it was about to spiral out of control, and more importantly, how did things get so tense that a single moment in the ring suddenly had everyone talking about a possible neck injury scare? And here's the one nobody seems to agree on yet: was this just another hard-hitting night in WWE that got blown out of proportion by spoilers and rumors, or did something genuinely happen backstage that has people quietly worried about what comes next? So let's just get into it, because this whole situation didn't even start with the injury. It started the way most WWE chaos starts these days, with whispers. You know that feeling when Raw hasn't even aired yet, but somehow the internet already thinks it knows everything that's going to happen? Yeah, that kind of energy. Spoilers started leaking early, as usual, but this time it wasn't just match results or surprise appearances. This time, the tone was different. More serious. More uneasy. People began talking about a match that apparently didn't go as smoothly as planned. A spot that looked off. A landing that made fans in attendance go quiet for a second too long. And if you've watched WWE long enough, you know that silence in a loud arena is never a good sign. It's usually that split-second moment where everyone is thinking the same thing but nobody wants to say it out loud yet. And then it started spreading. Neck injury scare. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, nobody was officially writing this as a confirmed career-threatening situation or anything like that. But the word neck alone in wrestling? That's enough to make fans sit up straight. Because that's one of those injuries that nobody jokes about. Not after everything this industry has seen over the years. What makes it even more intense is how quickly the mood shifted. 1 minute people were talking about match outcomes and potential storyline twists, and the next minute the conversation completely flipped into concern. Not storyline concern, real concern. The kind where even casual viewers go, "Wait, is the wrestler okay?" And that's where the mystery really begins. Because depending on who you ask, the details are slightly different. Some say it was a mistimed move that just looked worse than it was. Others say the wrestler immediately grabbed their neck after a landing, which obviously sent alarms ringing. And then there's the classic wrestling fan situation where half the internet is zooming in on replay clips like they're detectives solving a crime scene. You know the drill. Slow motion replays. Frame-by-frame breakdowns. People drawing arrows on screenshots like it's a courtroom case. And somehow, in all that chaos, the truth gets even harder to pin down. But what's interesting here is not just the injury talk itself, it's the reaction around it. Because backstage, according to the chatter floating around, things reportedly got very quiet very fast. And in WWE, that kind of quiet usually means something real just happened, not just storyline drama. You can imagine it, right? One of those moments where producers step in, referees immediately check on the talent, and everything else fades into the background. The crowd might not even fully understand what they just saw, but the people behind the curtain definitely do. And that's where fans start asking the real question: how serious is it? Because WWE has been here before. We've seen situations where something looks terrifying in the moment, but turns out to be just a scare. And we've also seen the opposite, where something gets brushed off early and later turns out to be way more significant than anyone expected. That's why this particular rumor has everyone on edge. Nobody wants to overreact, but nobody wants to ignore it either. And honestly, that tension kind of hangs over the entire episode of Raw when stories like this start circulating. Even if the show continues normally, fans are watching differently. Every bump looks bigger. Every awkward landing gets extra attention. It changes how people consume the show in real time. Now, let's talk about something that doesn't get mentioned enough in these situations: the wrestler involved. Because regardless of speculation, one thing fans always care about is the person behind the character. It doesn't matter if you're a champion or mid-card or just starting out, a neck scare is one of those things that instantly reminds everyone that what these athletes do is dangerous, no matter how smooth it looks on TV. And this is where the conversation usually splits into two sides. One side says, it's wrestling, these things happen all the time, don't panic. The other side goes, yeah, but neck injuries are not something to shrug off. And both sides think they're right, which just adds more fuel to the discussion. Meanwhile, WWE itself tends to stay pretty tight-lipped until there's something concrete to report. Which, of course, only makes fans speculate even more. It's like pouring gasoline on curiosity and then asking people not to look. But let's slow down for a second and look at the bigger picture here. WWE Raw is built on controlled chaos. That's the whole point. Big matches, physical storytelling, high-impact moments that are designed to look dangerous but are planned down to the second. Still, even with all that structure, wrestling is live performance. Things can go slightly off script in an instant. A slip, a miscommunication, a mistimed landing, and suddenly a normal match becomes a talking point for the entire fanbase. And that seems to be exactly what happened here. Now, the word spoilers in all this also adds another layer of confusion. Because depending on where you saw them, the spoilers might have exaggerated things slightly, or left out important context. That's the problem with wrestling news in the social media era. Information travels faster than verification. So by the time the actual details come out, the story has already taken 10 different shapes. And let's be honest, half the audience isn't even sure what's confirmed anymore. One post says it's serious, another says it's minor, another says it didn't even happen the way people think. At that point, you're not just following wrestling anymore, you're basically watching a live rumor simulation. But if there's one thing fans are hoping for, it's that this turns out to be just a scare and nothing more. Because nobody wants to see a wrestler sidelined with a neck issue, especially in a period where WWE has been building momentum with so many storylines and character arcs that depend on a full roster. And you can already imagine what happens if someone has to step away for even a short time. Storylines shift. Plans change. Matches get rewritten. Other wrestlers get pulled into different directions. It's like dominoes falling behind the scenes while the audience only sees the final arrangement. That's why moments like this feel bigger than just one incident. They ripple outward. Now, while all this uncertainty is floating around, fans naturally start replaying everything. Did you see that moment in the match? Was that landing clean? Was that move necessary? It becomes a whole investigation mode situation. And honestly, that's part of wrestling culture at this point. People care enough to analyze every detail, sometimes too much, but it comes from a place of genuine concern and passion for the product. And somewhere in all this noise, you also get the lighter side of fandom. The memes, the overreactions, the people acting like they're medical experts after watching 3 slow-motion clips. You've got to laugh a little, otherwise it gets too heavy. Someone online probably already said, that bump looked like it needed a WWE Safety Review Board meeting, and honestly,